Hello, my name is Andy Potter, and I am the founder of One Voice United. A group of us corrections officers decided to get together to tell our stories as a part of our commitment to each other to not be silent. We really wanted to try to convey what our lives are like working day in and day out on the front lines of America's prisons. And when we gathered, our friend Stefan, after 30 years working in corrections, had just lost his son to suicide and also lost his father around the same time.
Stefan, I don't know if you're up for this. If you are, we'd love to hear from you. If you're not, we're so grateful you're here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you heard some of it from all of us. This facade that we put up, and what we say is I'm okay. And what you have to realize is it's this statement that soothes other people and pacifies them, and the reality is it's a lie. And it's a lie we've become so numb at repeating that we just auto-correct any other feeling and say, I'm okay. And see, I know it because I've said this so many times, because I'm from a culture and a philosophical belief that silence is synonymous with strength. And then I doubled down by naively going into this profession, an occupation that not only reinforces the idea that feelings are not something to share, they also codify it in our oath of office that that's your personal problem. And if not, there's a disciplinary process to deal with it. But let me back up. See, my lineage is steeped in service, both military and public, in that my dad and I used to jokingly say that our forefathers did something in the military, because what you have to understand is the military for us is the Marine Corps. Everybody else is just some kind of basic support services. Now, the similarities in those services didn't end with our discharges. See, I saw my father hustle and struggle in civilian life, but I never heard about his personal plight. So upon my discharge, I got out, put my head down, and pushed the grindstone of 2 jobs in school until one day I came home and I was exhausted. And there's dad's paycheck stub sitting on the table. And I was immediately drawn in. I'm like, wait a minute, this dude makes double what I'm making out of 2 jobs. Now, mind you, I had no idea of what he did for a living. All I knew was he had a whistle and he worked with kids. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, I like kids. I like money. Where do I sign up? So when dad came home, I asked him, hey, are they hiring at your job? And he paused, which I didn't catch at the time, but he said, as a matter of fact, yeah, they just announced. So fast forward, my interview is set for a Wednesday with Lieutenant Mike Powers, former 1st Cavalry Army. And we sat and we talked for about an hour. That was Mike Powers' voice. And we wrapped up, we're walking out, and I'm thinking, I've blown this interview because not once did we talk about the job, which I still didn't understand anything about. Lieutenant Powers interrupted the thought and said, so, Walker, you need to give your job a 2-week notice? Young and dumb, I responded, no, sir. He says, we'll be in Galt on Saturday. Well, I was in Galt on Saturday, and those 4 weeks flew by. I still didn't know what I was doing until I walked into the institution and walked past the control security center, and I got inside. And I looked around and I was like, this is a prison. But I'm a Marine. I'm unshaken. We adapt, adjust, and overcome. To the point that every revelation, every hurdle, every heartache, I sucked it up, I shut up, I manned up, to the point that I earned the nickname RoboCop from my coworkers. The job couldn't be personal for me. Emotions were for counselors and caseworkers, not cops. See, I understood that our society was built around rewarding successful conformity to the standards and the procedures, and they ignored or ostracized anything other than that. They will accept mediocrity and the status quo, but God forbid the concept of a challenge or failure. So as cops, we go along to get along. And in that, I believed I had to stifle and bottle everything up in every aspect of my life. For I feared sharing any part of what I experienced and what it would jeopardize my job or traumatize my family or my friends, and they would ostracize me. So I bottled it up and I compartmentalized. See, you have to understand, we're taught to maintain control. And in such, you isolate and contain. And again, the loss of control, you could lose your job. So I forged ahead, not glimpsing the impact my perceived control had until the day my dad, my son, and I were on stage for a video, for a documentary for the union. When my dad turned and asked my son, "Why'd you go into corrections?" My son's response was that, well, you guys seem to have established a good financial foundation for our families, and I wanted that for my future family. And he added, I never heard you guys talk negatively about the job, so I figured it's a good place to work. It was at that point my dad and I exchanged looks, and we knew our silence failed him and our family. And I know that you're maybe thinking that this is a little overly dramatic. However, as I share this with you, I've lost my father and my son from the cumulative psychological and physiological impacts of stress and trauma of the life and occupation steeped in the stigma of silence. So please, true strength and protection must come from our education of our family and our friends, of all that we experience and endure in this occupation. We must have the strength to share. Emotions hurt, but silence kills. And I'm not okay.